Hey, this is David D. Hilster. I'm a critical thinker, science dissident, and I'm here to tell you the truth about science. Something your university professor won't tell you, the mass media won't tell you, and certainly those science evangelists won't tell you. Today I'm going to talk about a very important difference that I have observed, and I'm going to use these two phrases for that difference. One is an intellectual, and one is a critical thinker, and what the difference between the two are. And it's very important. Me, again, being a linguist, I love to look at what people mean when they use these words. This is not a prescriptive. I didn't look this up. I look at what people mean and what these things represent, because in the end, what language is to try to represent something very important to us in the real world, whether it's an idea or whether it's a real person or whatever. And the word intellectual I use in a very negative way. I think intellectuals are people who want to be the smartest person in the room. That to me is the definition. An intellectual is a person that's up on the latest things. And so if you don't know the latest, then you're out of it. So it's a big peer pressure game of when you go to a party and everybody thinks they're really smart, to talk about subjects and see if they can outdo each other. Monty Python, one of my favorite groups of all time, used to do, they did a skit on this, and they said, do you know what is worse than knowing what the Higgs boson is? And they would say no, and he goes, not knowing. You know, they were making fun. Monty Python constantly made fun of intellectuals, and that's why I loved it, and that's why they were so well loved, because people who try to be smart and think they are the smartest are, unfortunately, in my opinion, very damaging to science, not very constructive for science. And that's what evangelists, what I call science evangelists, do. They want to be the smartest person in the room, and they want to then come down from the mount and try to teach you these very, very, very complex things. But again, that's an intellectual. Intellectual wants to be the smartest person in the room. They're also not so open to new ideas. The moment you challenge anything in the mainstream, anything that would be crazy, I don't think global warming is happening, or I don't think relativity is correct, or the Big Bang has some logical problems, they're going to just look at you and make fun of you, and the peer pressure. This is what happens in science, where the intellectuals, the professors of the universities who don't try to teach their kids critical thinking. They say they do, but they don't. They're the ones that will actually squash. They're not going to want anything different. In fact, we have examples where Dr. Karazani had a couple of grad students interested in doing an experiment that would prove Einstein's special relativity wrong. And what happened is they went into their professor's office and they said, hey, I've got this experiment. And then they told them, what is it? He asked, well, what does it do? It's going to show Einstein's special relativity wrong. In both cases, these students were literally, sit down, sir, young man or young woman. They closed the door, and then they leaned on their desk and says, do you want a career in physics? And the kid would say, yes, don't do this. What is that about? So that's what I call intellectuals. Intellectuals are people who are up on the latest, but will not normally look at the new ideas. And of course, the other thing that's very important to intellectuals is our titles. If you have a title like astrophysicist, and we have some of our, what I call physics and science evangelists, they have their titles from the university. Sometimes they're not that prestigious, sometimes they are. But what's most important is, they have a doctoral from MIT. That's very important. They're a scientist from NASA. They are a person who works in an area for many, many years. So how can you question them? So that's another very important thing with titles. Now, if we look at the critical thinker, they're very different. In fact, titles mean absolutely nothing to a critical thinker. If they're reading something that's from a person who is homeless on the street and has some amazing idea they have, they don't care at all. In fact, when you go to one of our conferences, the CMPS, the John Chappell Natural Philosophy Society, we have a conference in July, we don't care who you are. We don't care what title you have. We care about what comes out of your mouth, and we listen to that, the content. So title means nothing to critical thinkers. Also, they give themselves a chance on everything. If it sounds real crazy, we have learned in our group, okay, this is crazy. I just can't agree with this model of the universe. What we have done is we've learned to try to understand that person's point of view in that model, because something can come out of it. Sometimes that, who knows, the crazy idea may end up being the idea that really turns out that many people grab a hold of. But we always reserve that ability of an open mind saying, okay, tell me about it. And then we can go in and criticize later, but that's really important. Whereas if you're in an intellectual party and all the intellectuals, well, I was reading about that stuff that was talking about how relativity is wrong. Immediately you get, oh my goodness, conspiracy, oh, do you believe in little green men? They don't listen to it. And that's a problem. Also, when scientists who say, oh, I get all this information about how somebody's shown Einstein wrong, and I have to teach them. Whereas if you look in our movie, our documentary, there's a person from Stanford Linear Accelerator saying he has to unteach his grad students from all the fantasy. This is a particle experimental physicist. He is not a theoretical physicist. He got really upset when I talked to him about that. So critical thinkers also have an engineering type of mindset. All of the best, a lot of the best people I know outside of mainstream, those scientists, are really, really engineering minded. That is, anything we put together, even if it's a model or a theory, it's just a feeble attempt at us to try to make some type of model. It's never going to be right. It's going to be more right perhaps than what was there before. But you can't be married to your ideas. Although a lot of dissidents, once they get a model, they become married to their ideas and they turn into intellectuals. So that's also something that you can tell between a critical thinker and an intellectual. To give you one good example of this are film festivals. Here I am, a documentary filmmaker. It took me 8 years to make a documentary. Something to blow off the lid of that, hey, theoretical physics and science isn't what it seems. We have a GPS scientist who has over 30 patents in GPS saying, look, GPS doesn't use relativity. In fact, it shows the flaws in relativity. We have other people, we have the Stanford Linear Accelerator scientists saying, hey, we don't see mass increase, and we should. So I was thinking, I've got this amazing thing. It's going to really blow open the lid. It's going to really hit the film festivals. But guess what? The film festivals are run by intellectuals, not critical thinkers, especially when it comes to science. The people in film festivals like to think they're themselves as above the average person, that they cinephiles who know these things. And of course, they're also versed. They're people of the world, the Renaissance people who know everything about science and art and literature and music and all of this. So when they get this, they're going, oh no, conspiracy. And today it's easier to make a film than ever and throw it out. I almost did make it into a film festival in England because they're not real big fans of Einstein. And I had a person pushing for me, but I didn't make it. They thought it was too controversial. That's so funny because this is what it should be happening. This is what documentaries are made. This is why they're made. And what I was saying was not speculation. It wasn't. These are real people with real degrees. A person from NASA, a person from MIT, a person who has 30 patents in GPS. All these people, and a person from Stanford Linear Accelerator. They're all there. But why didn't it happen? Because they're more worried about their image than they are in truth. And that's the biggest thing. In fact, that's why you get questions, well, why? I got that from documentary filmmakers all the time. Well, why would you know about this and no one else? The same question, why doesn't the whole world know everything's wrong? I've got a video on that. Take a look at it. Well, the other one, of course, too, is, well, who's the next Einstein if Einstein's wrong? Again, that question isn't about science. It's about fame. It's about, oh, you want to be famous. You want to be the person that breaks this open. Oh, Dave, you're making your YouTube channel so that you can get fame. No. If you ask me what fame can do for me, If I ever got it, it's power to do what you want, but it's not to make my opinion all of a sudden about politics better than anybody else. Fame is a fleeting, stupid thing. If you have a lot of eyeballs on you, yeah, you can get more done. Maybe I can get more done outside of mainstream physics to get things rolling again because we're stuck. But again, this is my talk. This is why my film didn't get into film festivals, because the gatekeepers were intellectuals. They weren't interested. They were not critical thinkers. Their interest was to appear smart, to not appear that their film festival was a big joke because they let in somebody with some crazy idea. But that's enough for now. I could keep going on as I always do. And remember this, always don't take what anyone says on faith. Stay critical, stay thinking. I'm Dave D. Hilster, your science therapist. Ciao for now.